Yo, Mounts. Welcome to another edition here of Football Battle. So this one, two top strikers we have here, George Weah and Didier Drogba, two of perhaps the greatest lone strikers of all time. So the criteria that we have here is heading, dribbling, hold-up play, movement, control, finishing, and clutch. So start first with heading. Both great headers of the ball, quality in the air. The aerial ability was absolutely fantastic. I mean, some of the header goals that Weah scored was amazing, whether from long range, short range. Drogba, we all know about how good his heading was. But I think in this, seeing as how both of them were quality in the air, I've got to give it to Drogba. Drogba in the air was just an absolute demon. Again, he scored one of the best headed goals I've ever seen in my life, which is his iconic 2012 goal in the Champions League final against Bayern. I mean, the difficulty of scoring that, when you look at how where the cross came in from, the angle he had to do it from, and he did it against one of the best keepers of all time in Manuel Neuer, just showed you just how tough that was. But I think that's including all of his other headed goals. I think as far as aerial ability, who was better in the air and a greater force in the air, I've got to give it to your boy Didier. Dribbling. Both were decent dribblers, not the greatest dribblers, okay? I think none of them were like Maradona, Messi, or Kocha, or Ronaldinho, but both were decent dribblers. But I think, you know what, I have to just slide in already, man, because I just think that, you know, with dribbling, I'm giving this to George Weah, because again, he scored one of the craziest goals of all time, which was when he literally dribbled from his own half, from a corner kick all the way until the end. And I just think as far as dribbling, beating a man, I feel like if George Weah was more adept at doing that. Although, look, man, don't be fooled, because I think people's misconceptions are, you know, Drogba didn't have any skills. No, the guy could dribble and had a few skills, but I just felt like if it was shown far more by Weah than it was by Drogba. So I think, you know, Weah showed far more his skill and ability to beat a man, more so than Drogba. And I think a lot of George Weah's goals did involve him maneuvering and meandering his ways past players, whereas Drogba never really showed that as much as what Weah did. So I think as far as dribbling goes, skill-wise, I'm going to have to ride there with George Weah. Hold-up play, the ability to hold the ball up. I think this actually has to do with systems, you know, because I think both players could hold the ball up well, but I felt that Drogba showed it a lot more than George Weah did because they just had different systems. So I think, for me, hold-up play definitely goes to Drogba, because when you look at what Chelsea's system was about, Drogba was a lone striker. Wales was as well, but I don't think that the lone striker system was as fine-tuned as it was back in the 90s. Back in the 90s, yes, you had a lone striker, but I think you had also a lot of support from the midfield as well. So I think George Weah really played off of the very quality midfield that AC Milan had. But I think with Drogba, he literally was the total lone striker, because this whole new system of really packing the midfield was really coming into play and was now becoming far more in vogue during this Mourinho mid-2010 than it was like back in the late 90s. As far as the ability to hold the ball up, I think Drogba was. I think you could give the ball to Drogba, 2-3 defenders around him, he would get that ball up because he had the strength, the ability, and the skill to hold the ball up well and bring in all the other guys into the game. So, movement. Again, with this one, I think this is pretty clear. I don't think it is that close. I think, you know, you've got to ride it with George Weah here. I think Drogba's, again, look, to score goals, you need to have good movements. Not all the goals you can score by you as an individual. But I think when you look at how Weah played, how he used to do 1-2s, get into position, I think Weah was far more nimble and was far lighter on his feet than Drogba was. I think Weah was definitely a guy who could definitely he had a better ability to get into those spatial pockets a lot more so and a lot better than your boy Drogba. Because I think with regards to movement, I think you've got to ride with them where they are. Although, like, you know, Drogba still had pretty good movements, but I think the better off the ball movements, I think, had to go with George Weah. Ball control. I think, for me, I thought this was pretty obvious, but I think thinking about it right now, it maybe might be a bit close because, again, it goes to misconceptions. So I ride with Weah in this one. I think Weah had a better ball control than Drogba did. But as I'm thinking this right now, and I'm looking at some of the goals that Drogba scored and some of the plays that they had, and also when you look at his hold-up play, did require a lot of control. So for me, that's tough. But I just have to slightly side with Weah. I just feel like if Weah, when I just think about hit the ball at his feet and what he was doing with the ball at his feet, I just think that, Weah's ball control may just be slightly better. And I think almost as if Weah was a player who I think could play perhaps in midfield, whereas I don't think Drogba could. I think there was much more of a more rounded footballer in Weah. Hence, we're just thinking as far as his ball control and ability to carry the ball, I felt even Drogba could as well. I'm thinking about it, he was good as well. I just think that I'm going to have to just give that to Weah over Drogba in that sense. Clutch. Drogba, man. Straight up. I'm sorry. I'm going to go straight up. I'm going to give this to Drogba. I think Drogba was known as Mr. Clutch. I think literally the amount of times, let's just put the Champions League, Bayern League game to one side. The amount of times he came up big time in big games in the Premier League, in the Champions League, multiple FA Cups. Far too many times, this guy came up for Chelsea and just came up with just big, huge, humongous goals. So as far as being clutch, Drogba, he did it so many times, and I think that is why he is one of the most iconic players, especially in the Premier League history, and I think one of the most iconic strikers in modern history, because he was Mr. Clutch. Forget about how many goals he scored, and I think I don't even rate strikers by how many goals he scored. Is when do you score those goals? Do you score those goals when it matters? And Drogba was a dude who multiple times he scored the goals when it mattered. Now this was one where literally I don't know who to choose. Finish it, because here's my dilemma. I think Drogba had more range in his shooting with regards to long range, short range. I think Drogba could give you a one-on-one, header, so forth. He could also give you crazy goals from 30 yards, 40 yards out. But I think with George Weah, I think his finishing had much more finesse. So where there's little dinks, little passes, a bit more grace. I think there was perhaps a bit more grace to Weah's finishing as opposed to Drogba's finishing. So that's why it's a dilemma in this one, but I've got to choose. I have two to choose. And I'm going to say George Weah. Again, I know people will disagree with me. I'm going to say, and the reason why I'm going to say George Weah is that as amazing as Drogba was at his finishing, I just felt that there was more to Weah's finishing. And the reason why I'm even going further is I'm going to look at the league that he played in. So this is my determining factor. Drogba played in the Premier League. George Weah played in the Serie A. And for me, the Serie A at that time was far harder than the Premier League that Drogba played in, because the Serie A at Weah's time, at that time, was one of the toughest leagues ever, because defensively guys were tough. All the best defenders, all the best attackers, all the best players, but specifically all the best defenders were in the Serie A. Hence why it was so hard to break that 30-goal barrier. So it was very hard to finish. But with Drogba, I'm sorry, the Premier League did not have the best defenders outside. Some of the best defenders were there, definitely. Some of the best defenders were there, whether you want to talk about Rio, so forth, Vidic, but not to the same degree as, my gosh, whether you want to talk about Cannavaro, you want to talk about flipping Zanetti, you want to talk about even Cordoba. There were some serious dudes back then, who made it very hard for strikers. I just felt that based upon that and the kinds of goals that Weah scored, the way in which he scored these goals, the beauty of his goals, coming off the dribble, creating his own goals, I just think that, I'm going to have to slightly give this to George Weah, but it was very close. So I think Weah takes this 4-3 to Weah in this. So again, man, look, man, that's how it is, man. It's close, it's tough. Weah and Drogba, bada bing, bada three smacks. All right, peace out. Thank you for watching this video. Think about pledging and become a Half Football Hot patron. Pledge an amount each month and gain access to exclusive videos from your boy, the Football Hot, for more analysis. Peace.